Searching for a home can be a daunting task and one that brings a lot of stress. And after some time, I've seen some buyers break down and they just want to get off the hamster wheel of looking at houses. But let me tell you something, you should never settle, and there are some homes you should never buy. And no, this does not only pertain to first-time home buyers. So let's go through this right now. And as I go through them, let me know if you have any experience with any of these. I'm Shawn Shackelton, your resource for all things real estate here in the Scottsdale and Phoenix area. Now, first up on my list are any homes that back up or are near to any major roads. And the reason behind this is, well, the location. Homes that back a major road or even back a road that maybe isn't seen as major but has a lot of traffic have a lot of road noise, which is not ideal. Now, I've had many clients that are moving from a really big city, and they'll look at me and they'll say things like,
"Oh, this road noise wouldn't bother me,"
or
"This isn't road noise."
But I can tell you that homes that back a major road are going to take longer to sell, and they are going to sell for less money than other homes in the neighborhood. This takes us all the way back to the first rule of real estate, which is location, location, location. And backing a major road is not an ideal location, even if it's in the best neighborhood. Now, you might love the home, and the road noise might really not bother you, but here's what you have to think about: resale. Because at some point, you are going to need or want to sell that home. And that road noise objection, you are going to hear over and over and over again. And the only real way to deal with that objection is with price. Buyers need to feel that they are getting a really good price if a home backs a major road. I've had some sellers, when it comes to hearing feedback about their house that backs a major road, that I did not help them buy, by the way, tell me, I don't want to hear one more time that they'd love the house, but it backs a busy road, because that is usually the only feedback that they get. So my conversation with buyers that are looking at a home that backs a busy road is, don't do it. This is a home that I would not buy. Next up are homes that are being flipped. You have to be very careful with these. Flippers often aim to complete their renovations as quickly as possible to maximize their profit, which can lead to subpar workmanship. And these poorly executed repairs and sometimes low quality materials can result in future problems. And mainly, flippers are only focusing on the cosmetic improvements of the house to make the house look and feel better. But those larger cost items like the roof and the air conditioning unit are sometimes left for the new homeowner to deal with. Now, when I say a bad flip job, I am talking about the things that you can easily see with the naked eye. Things like really badly painted cabinets or really cheap cabinets. You know, the kind that have a lot of extra spacers because the boxes that they're using don't really fit the space, so the only thing that they can do is just add more spacers in there to fill the holes. Or the cabinet doors and the drawers just don't function very well. Tile floors that are not laid well, meaning you could stub your toe on a tile that's lifted up and just not laying flat. Paint jobs where you can see streaks on the walls. And the pet peeve of mine are when they replace the flooring and all the baseboards and don't replace the door casings. These are the flippers that are just trying to put lipstick on a pig. And for most flips, the majority of the work is being done inside the house, which doesn't require them to get permits, meaning no one's checking their work. And to get things done in a more cost-effective way, they often will hire unlicensed contractors. And unlike new construction, flipped homes don't come with any warranties. This is why it is so important for you to get the home inspected. The inspector will find all those things that maybe need to be addressed or you need to ask more questions about so that you can protect yourself as much as possible. Now, prior to the inspection and hopefully before you even write a contract, you've gotten the seller's disclosure, which is part of the contract, but here in Arizona, the seller doesn't have to deliver that to you until 3 days after the contract acceptance. But this is going to give you information about the home, what the seller knows about the home. Now, some flippers say they won't fill this out because they've never lived in the home. But if they've done a lot of work to the home, then they know some things about the home. So if a flipper is not willing to give you a seller's disclosure, this is a huge red flag. Now, if a home being flipped has removed any walls, it is really important to ask if a licensed contractor or even a structural engineer was involved before the wall came down so that you ensure that the wall they removed was not a load-bearing wall. And again, all of these things should be disclosed to you as the buyer. Now, it is not true that all flippers are the same. There are some flippers out there that do amazingly high-quality work. And after you've seen the bad ones, the good ones really stand out. Now, something you have to be careful about when looking at flipped homes is that they are often sold at a premium, because the thought is that you're buying the house and you don't have to do any of the renovations yourself. So you're paying a premium for that. And this premium is to cover the costs and the margins that the flipper needs to make a profit. And because these homes are shiny and new, buyers get really excited about them. However, if the home fits one of the bad flip categories, then I would steer clear of this home. Don't buy it, move on. Next up are homes with major structural issues. By this, I mean have foundation cracks or incorrectly cut trusses. Now, when you're in a house and you're looking around, you might see cracks in the walls, in the exterior stucco, and maybe even in some of the floor tiles. But let me caution you, if they're hairline cracks, these are normal. This does not automatically indicate that there's a foundation crack. You need to see long cracks that are extending across a big significant area of tile or the foundation. But because the home most likely has flooring down, you will usually see these in places that have tile. But if there's carpet, you might not see it at all. In fact, I had a client who purchased a home. They wanted to replace the carpet in the primary bedroom. When they pulled up that carpet, they had a long extending crack that was offset underneath that carpet. It was a foundation crack and it needed to be fixed. So they did something called concrete stitching, which actually did fix the foundation crack, but it was expensive and it was unexpected. So although in that situation, there was no real way to know about it, it's still important for you to look and make sure your inspector is looking for things like that. Now, when it comes to the trusses, these are usually found by the inspector, because I don't really have clients that are climbing into the attic to take a look at these. And believe it or not, having cut trusses in your attic is not that abnormal. This often happens when the entire HVAC unit is replaced and they need to cut a few trusses to get the new furnace up into the attic. However, it still needs to be checked out to ensure it was done correctly. That way, you don't run the risk of the roof caving in. And I have had both situations happen to me. Usually it's more that the trusses were cut and everything's okay because the HVAC system was replaced. But I've had one situation where there were multiple cut trusses in the attic. The structural engineer came out, took a look at it, looked at me and said, "This is not good." And in that situation, I then told my client, I would not buy this house. It's because of these reasons that I have said you never want to waive an inspection entirely. Even when the market was crazy, I never had a client waive the inspection. I would say you would need to take the house as is, but they were still allowed to do their inspection, because if anything major like this came up, they could still back out and still get their money back. But if something major was going on, you just don't want to take on anyone else's problems. And guess what usually happens if something major like this comes up on the inspection, so much so that the buyer now wants to cancel. If the seller has a good agent, they will then explain that from now on, they will have to disclose what they now know about the house. And a lot of future buyers are not going to want to deal with these issues either. So many sellers will do whatever they can to keep that first buyer under contract by fixing any of these issues. Now, depending on the issues, I might still tell my clients that I would not buy the house and that I would walk away. Next up are homes that have multiple big ticket items that all have issues. Things like needing a new roof, needing a new air conditioning unit, if there are sewer issues, if there are mold issues, and if the home has polybutylene pipes. So just looking at it from a cost perspective, a new roof could range anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000, depending on the size of the home. New air conditioning units can range anywhere from about $9,000 to $15,000 per unit. And if the home is larger than about 2,200 square feet, you probably have 2 units on the house. And if you're up over about 45 to 5,000 square feet, you probably have 3 units on your house. And you're just gonna need more air conditioning units the larger the house gets. Now, sewer inspections have been a really big thing here lately, and it is something that I have advised my buyers to do every time. Because even though we don't have a ton of trees here in the Phoenix area, we still get roots in our sewer lines that can cause cracks, and the pipes now need to be lined. I've also had some sewer lines that have a belly in the line, or there's a crack or a depression in the line where the line has to be completely dug up and replaced. These are all big issues and they need to be addressed. These are all more than just water jetting the line. But honestly, that water jet needs to be done just so that the plumber can actually see the entire pipe. Now, because we're in such a dry climate, oftentimes people don't ever think about mold being here, but we have it. And it's black mold. I have seen this under toilets, under sinks, near showers, in an attic, in a ceiling, in cabinetry, in a few different other places as well. And this type of mold needs to be addressed quickly and correctly, because this mold grows really fast and bad things can happen. This type of mold has to be remediated a very specific way, and you have to have paperwork to show that it was done properly. So even if you buy a home that has had mold and it was remediated the correct way, you have to make sure you have the paperwork so that you can show the next buyer. Then you have the polybutylene pipes. These were pipes that were used between about 1978 and 1995, and they were popular because they were less expensive and easier to install. The problem comes that they can also become brittle and explode in your walls. In fact, these pipes have become such a problem that many insurance companies don't want to insure homes that have polybutylene pipes in them. And what really needs to happen is the pipes need to be replaced. So all the plumbing in the home has to be replaced, which means big holes have to be cut in the drywall all over the home so that they can get to the pipes behind the walls. It is a big, messy job that costs a lot of money. Now, all of these issues can be addressed, but if the home has multiple issues like this and the seller is not willing to fix them, then it is time to walk away from this home. I will add one more caveat to this. If the seller is willing to fix these items, I would always recommend that they all be done by a licensed contractor that provides a warranty for their work. I have seen it too often that the seller agrees to fix these items, but it's not done by a licensed contractor. There's no warranty for the work. So then after the buyer moves in, if something goes wrong, they have no one to turn to, no one to provide a warranty from for the work that was done. And now it's like they have to start from scratch. To me, doing it the right way first with a licensed contractor that will provide a warranty is the only way that it should be done. And if the seller's not willing to do it, it's time to walk away. Now, this one might sound a little controversial, and that's solar on a home. Now, if the solar is paid for in full and you have no bill or a small bill in the summertime, and the roof was replaced before the solar went on the house, then I say it's okay. But if the solar is on a lease with monthly payments that are not covering the entire electric bill in full all year long, don't buy the house. And if you add on top of that the roof was not replaced before the solar went on the roof, really run. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the video that I did about solar and check out all the comments. Solar is a great concept, and I really wish that it worked better, but the cost for the solar panels is so expensive, and what you get in return for putting it back into the grid is pennies. Your overall ROI time period is so long that I just don't see it being a viable option right now. And for a buyer to buy a home with a solar lease that they have to qualify for and then make payments on, in addition to continuing to pay an electric bill, that just doesn't make any sense to me. And the whole roof part, well, if it wasn't replaced, you can actually double the cost of what the roof is gonna be, because roofing companies won't touch solar panels. So you actually have to call the solar company. They have to come out, remove the solar panels, so the roofer then can come out, replace your roof. Then the solar company has to come back and put all the solar panels back on your roof. It costs double, if not sometimes double plus, just to replace your roof if you've got solar. And for all these reasons, I would not buy a house with a solar lease on it. Now, if you would like to learn more about buying a home in Phoenix, make sure you watch this video. As always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.